Hi everybody, I'm Charlie, and this is On Air, my Beatles collection. Today I'm going to show you something a little unusual. It's a fan-made, one-of-a-kind thing, and it fits in this box here. And as you can see on the label, it says Capital/Apple US Singles. And of course it's a small box, so it's not vinyl singles. So I'll open up the latch and I'll show you that in the box there are a bunch of 3-inch CDs buffered by a piece of styrofoam on each end to hold them all snugly in place. And I'm going to take them out of the box one at a time and show you. So remember, these are Capital and Apple US singles. And this would be up until the end of the Beatles actually being together. So this is not singles that came out in the mid or late 70s or 80s or whatever. This is the initial run of Beatles singles on Capital and Apple. So no Tolly, no VJ, no Swan, none of those early singles. Capital started in the US on December 26th, 1963 with I Want to Hold Your Hand. Of course, this is, as I said, a fan-made 3-inch CD with the Capital orange swirl. Both of the songs are on the same side of the CD, of course, and there's no label on the other side because that's the play side. But nonetheless, it's got a replica of the original Capital sleeve. I happen to have all these actual Capital sleeves, the 7-inch sleeves, but I love having this 3-inch CD set. Of course, the next one was Can't Buy Me Love, and that is, the Capital's actual Capital sleeve is pretty much the rarest, not pretty much, it is the rarest Capital sleeve. I happen to have that in a frame on the wall on the other side of the room here, which you can't see, but I have shown it on some of my picture sleeve videos. And again, we have the orange swirl label on the 3-inch CD. And then we have A Hard Day's Night. So this is A Hard Day's Night, and I should have known better. Again, reproducing the Capital sleeve and the Capital single. And then we have I'll Cry Instead, with yet another use of that same picture. I also have that sleeve up on the wall with the Can't Buy Me Love sleeve, actually. And again, this one they went with I'll Cry Instead as the A side, and I'm Happy Just to Dance With You as the B side, I guess. I don't know, I don't actually remember it that way, but I don't know how Capital actually treated that. I don't know. Anyway, and here's And I Love Her and If I Fell. And it's, of course, from the United Artists picture, A Hard Day's Night. It says that under the title. Then we have Matchbox and Slow Down. I love the repros of the picture sleeves. Like I said, I have all these picture sleeves, the real picture sleeves, but it's kind of nice to have them on these 3-inch CDs. I don't actually have the ability to play 3-inch CDs anymore because I don't have one of those adapters, and I use a pretty refined CD player that's for DJing. That you can mix and scratch with it. I actually have 2 of them because I did DJ for a while, and but you have to insert the 5-inch CD, and it pulls it in, motorized, and it won't do that with a 3-inch. So I don't have any adapters at the moment, but I still like having these. I Feel Fine and She's a Woman, and there is that CD. And here's 8 Days a Week, and I Don't Want to Spoil the Party. I believe that picture is from the Hollywood Bowl. And then there's a different picture on the B side. And 8 Days a Week is obviously the A side on that one. This particular picture sleeve, you know, in the 7-inch real version, is one of the hardest to find in good shape because of the design of the sleeve and the coloring of the sleeve. It's prone to showing ring wear more than some of the other sleeves are. And there's a couple others that are like that I'll tell you when we get there. But I have a great one and I have a not good one. I started with a not very good one. Most of the ones I've seen in the wild are not very good. They have the ring wear, but the good ones look like that. And I'm fortunate that I have one. And this one famously says from the film, from the United Artists release, 8 Arms to Hold You. And that is what the original 45 said. I guess that was the working title for Help before Help actually was released, because the next record is Help. Imagine that. Help with I'm Down. And of course, by now it's from the motion picture Help, not 8 Arms to Hold You. These are pretty darn good replicas of the original singles. Then we got Yesterday, which of course was a single here in the US, and it was a big hit. It was not a single in the UK until many years later. It was added to the box set of singles. Anyway, Yesterday. And we got, just in time for Christmas, in 1965, we got We Can Work It Out, and Day Tripper. And that's what that looks like. Now that's a great single. I mean, talk about a double A. Are you kidding? We Can Work It Out and Day Tripper. I actually like Day Tripper better, but We Can Work It Out was the bigger hit. And here's Nowhere Man with What Goes On. This was a no-brainer A side. Nowhere Man was clearly the hit side. But what they did do, you notice on the picture sleeve, on one side of the sleeve, they use this picture, but they use the big type for Nowhere Man. And on the other side, they use What Goes On for the big type. And that is exactly how the picture sleeve looked. Then we got Paperback Writer. Another great, you could argue, double A side, Paperback Writer and Rain. 2 great songs. And there's they did the same there with that on the back side of the picture sleeve. They gave Rain the top billing, and on the front side, Paperback Writer. Paperback Writer was considered the A side. Paul seemed to always win those battles of who got the A side and John got the B side. Here's one I've always disputed. First of all, I will say this is another one of the picture sleeves that is very difficult to get in pristine condition. It was very definitely prone to ring wear. Anyway, this clearly shows Yellow Submarine as the A side and Eleanor Rigby as the B side. It was not in my house. we liked Yellow Submarine, but we clearly thought of Eleanor Rigby as the A side. But as you can see, both sides of this picture sleeve give Yellow Submarine top billing, as does the CD. But of course the CD is not official, but the picture sleeve, that isn't a replica. And here we have, for the first time, we have one that doesn't have the song titles on it. And this was when the Beatles were in the process of recording Sgt. Pepper, and they were getting pushed for a single, to release a single. So then came Penny Lane, Strawberry Fields Forever. Now this was the actual back of the picture sleeve, so the titles were on the back, and the front was just a picture. And then, of course, the Sgt. Pepper album came out. And then right after the Sgt. Pepper album came out, we got All You Need Is Love with Baby You're a Rich Man. And this one, they did give top billing to Baby You're a Rich Man on the B side. And All You Need Is Love on the A side, of course. And then, and that was in the summer of 67. And then in the winter of 67, you know, late in the year, along with the Magical Mystery Tour album, we got the single, Hello, Goodbye, and I Am the Walrus. And again, they give top billing to I Am the Walrus on the backside of the picture sleeve. But clearly Hello, Goodbye was considered the A side, and it was the bigger hit. And then after Christmas, after Magical Mystery Tour had died down somewhat, the album had, you know, was probably still in the charts, but, you know, moving downward, we got Lady Madonna, Back with the Inner Light. And that was the first real exposure we had besides the Sgt. Pepper album and the song Within You Without You. Now we got the Inner Light, which was another George Indian influence song with a heavy sitar as the core element. And Inner Light got top billing on the B side of the picture sleeve. And that was actually the last Capitol orange swirl sleeve, because the next record was Hey Jude. Of course, the Beatles on Apple was created. Now, all the other artists, the factory sleeve just said Apple in green, but of course on the Beatles ones it said the Beatles on Apple. And I was thrilled when I first got this record. And of course the sleeve had a cutout, so it wasn't a picture like it is here. It was actually a cutout where you could see the record. And so on the back side, you could see the cutout Apple side saying Revolution. And of course the front side, so you know, you could see the spindle hole. This is just a picture, but on the actual sleeve, there is a spindle hole. And of course the A side had the Hey Jude on the Apple. The next Beatles on Apple was Get Back. Same sleeve design. Same thing with the, be able to see the B side through the hole. So Get Back and Don't Let Me Down. Another great single. Then we got a picture sleeve this time for the Ballad of John and Yoko. And for the first time, we got a non-Beatle actually pictured on the picture sleeve, and that's Yoko, of course. I guess they thought that was okay, given the fact that the song was about her and John. And of course, George got the B-side with Old Brown Shoe. And Yoko's not, oh yeah, she is in that picture too. Sorry, I thought, for a minute I thought she wasn't. And there is the, what the 45 looked like. And that was in stereo. Was it Get Back in stereo? Yes, it was. Get Back was also in stereo. See up here. And since we're doing it, let's check Hey Jude. Hey Jude was not in stereo. Okay, so Get Back, and then the Ballad of John and Yoko was in stereo. And then we got another non-picture sleeve, and that was for Something. I love the elegance of the green Apple and the Beatles on Apple factory sleeve. Always did. Always will. And of course, the B-side of Something was Come Together. And that was definitely considered a double A side, and they both charted, although Something charted higher. And then the last two American sleeves were Let It Be, backed with, many of us have a certain joy when they listen to You Know My Name, Look Up the Number. Always thought that was a fun song. Beatles having some fun in the studio, even though they were clearly at the point where they were breaking up. Actually, when this was released, they had already broken up, I think. But when they recorded it, you know, they're having some fun. And of course, Brian Jones is famously on here just before he departed, and he plays, I believe it's the saxophone on this. So that's a fun song. Of course, Let It Be was the hit, and this is the single version. So this has the calmer George lead guitar in it, on the album version, he rocked it up a bit. And then the last single was The Long and Winding Road. Of course, also on Apple. And in this case, backed with another George song, For You Blue. And these, of course, are in stereo as well. So that is the box set. That is every American single that was on Capitol that eventually, Apple took over. Of course, The Long and Winding Road was considered the last released Beatles single while there was still the Beatles. And then, later on, particularly in mid and late 70s, they started to release songs from album cuts, like we got Sgt. Pepper, Backed with A Day in the Life. We got Obla Dee, Obla Da. We got several singles along with picture sleeves that were, 10 years old by the point or the time that they came out. And, we got Love Me Do eventually on a 20th anniversary disc, and then we got it on a 30th anniversary and so on. So we got other singles later that weren't originally on Capitol or that early version of Apple, but we got them later. So that's the original set of core U.S. Beatles singles and their associated sleeve, picture sleeve or factory sleeve. And again, I have all the actual records and the actual picture sleeves, but I really kind of like this 3-inch set. I think it was very, very well done. They sound great. Of course, they're CDRs. Somebody made them at home, but they sound great, and they're fun, and I like them. So I hope you do too. So that's it for today. That is my box set. I actually put them in this box and put that label on there, Capitol Apple US Singles. And the box holds them perfectly, and it looks nice on the shelf. And every once in a while I take it down and I show it to people on my Facebook page, or I show it here on my YouTube channel. So that's it for this video. If you like the video, please give me the thumbs up. If you're not yet a subscriber, please subscribe. If you have any comments, you want to ask any more questions about these, or you have something you want to tell me, put that down in the comments. And if you're not yet a member of my Facebook page, we have well over 5,000 members over there. It's a private page, so it's not a public page. You will find it if you search for it, and it has the name My Beatles Collection. It doesn't have the on air in it because it's not on air. But you just have to answer a few questions, and if you sign off on the questions and the rules, then I'll let you in, and we'll have some fun, and you get to show your stuff. You get to see more of my stuff that I'm not doing a video on. I just, I'll just post a picture of an item. Other people post pictures of their collections, and sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, when I shoot a video on the YouTube channel, I put a link on there and I say, in today's episode of On Air My Beatles Collection, and whatever it is, and so there's a link there. So, so I'm exposing the video to 5,000 people or so. So some people go from there to get to YouTube. Some people search on YouTube for Beatles stuff and they find me there. I haven't been doing the YouTube channel quite as long. I've been doing the Facebook page for a couple of years. The YouTube channel is less than a year old, but I've got almost 1,000 subscribers there, and working on it every day. We add a couple every day. On the Facebook page, we add about 100 a week. So last time I looked at it, we were well over 5,000, on our way to 6,000. So people like to comment on other people's stuff. They like to show their own stuff. Sometimes they post things where they're looking for information about something that they found, or maybe they're considering buying something and they want to ask, do you think that's a fair price? That's the kind of stuff that's on there. What I do not let anybody do is sell things, because that is the #1 route to a scam. People take pictures from the internet or from other Facebook pages. They claim that they own the item, and they try to get deals to sell it, and they ask people to do family and friends transactions where you have no recourse as the buyer if something goes haywire. So I don't let anybody sell anything, because I know most people are honest, but there's no way to prevent the scam artists from coming in if you allow selling. They'll find their way in. So I approve posts. I have rules in terms of no bullying, no politics, no religion. It's about the Beatles, and it's basically about Beatles collections. So the preference is not videos of your own band doing a Beatles song. It's about what do you have in your collection? And because we have members that are from all over the world, we get all different languages involved. We have Beatles and Beatles related stuff from all different countries, and album covers that are in different languages, and song sequences you've never heard before. So you see a lot of unusual stuff that you might not see in your home country, because you're seeing what people have access to in many countries. So it's a fun place, and hopefully consider going over there as well. So that's it for today. I hope to see you back here. I hope to see you over there on the Facebook page, and take care, and hope to see you again. Bye.